Now listen. I'm going to tell you a story I heard when I was a boy. Since then, the story seems to have become nicer every time I've thought about it. You see, stories are like a good many people. They get nicer and nicer as they grow older. And that is so pleasant. Of course, you have been out in the country, haven't you? You know what a real old farmhouse looks like, with a thatched roof all grown over with moss and weeds, and a stork's nest perched on the ridge. We can't do without the stork, you know. And crooked walls and low-browed windows, only one of which will open. The oven pokes out its fat little stomach, and the elder bush leans over the fence, where there's a little pond with a duck or some ducklings just under the wrinkled willow tree. Yes, and then there's a dog on a chain that keeps barking at all and sundry. Well, that's just the sort of a farmhouse there was out in the country, and two people lived in it, a farmer and his wife. They had little enough of their own, and yet there was one thing they could do without. That was a horse, which used to graze along the roadside ditch. Father would ride it into town, the neighbors would borrow it, and, of course, one good turn deserved another. And yet they felt it would pay them better to sell the horse or to change it for something else that might be still more use to them. But whatever was it to be? "You'll know best, Papa," said his wife. "It is market day today, so you just ride into town and get some money for the horse, or else change it for something good. What you do is always right. Now ride along to market." There was a burning sun, and not a cloud in the sky. The road was full of dust. There were such a lot of people driving and riding to market or going there on Shang's mare. It was scorching hot, and there wasn't a scrap of shade on the road. A man came along driving a cow. You couldn't imagine a finer cow. "I say, you with the cow," he called out. "I would like to have a word with you." Now look here, I suppose a horse is really worth more than a cow. But never mind. I have more use for a cow. Will you change over? "You bet I will," said the man with the cow. And so they changed over. Well, now the deal was done, and the farmer might just as well have turned back. After all, he had done what he wanted. But then, you see, he had made up his mind to go to market, and so to market he would go, if only to have a look at it. He quickened his pace, and so did the cow, and presently they found themselves walking alongside a man who was driving a sheep. I could do with that sheep, I could, thought the farmer. "Shall we do a swap?" he asked. Yes, the man who had the sheep was quite ready to do that. And so the bargain was struck, and the farmer went on with his sheep down the road. There by a fence he saw a man with a big goose under his arm. "Will you do a swap? I'll give you the sheep for the goose, and a thank you as well." The other man said yes, he didn't mind if he did, and so they made the exchange. The farmer got the goose. As he neared the town, the traffic on the road got bigger and bigger. There was a swarm of people and cattle stretching over road and ditch, right up to the toll-keeper's potatoes, where his hen was kept shut in so as not to take fright and go astray and get lost. I could do with that hen, I could. "What do you say to a swap?" he asked. "Swap?" answered the other. "Why, yes, that's not at all a bad idea." And so they changed over. The toll-keeper got the goose, and the farmer got the hen. He had now reached the inn, and just as he was about to enter, there was the innkeeper coming out, and he met him right in the doorway, carrying a bag that was brimful of something. "What's that you have got there?" asked the farmer. "Rotten apples," answered the innkeeper. "A whole sackful for the pigs." Why, what a tremendous lot. I do wish Mother could see that. What will you give me? Asked the innkeeper. Give? I'll give you my hen in exchange. And so he gave him the hen, got the apples in exchange, and went into the tap room straight up to the bar. His sack with the apples he leaned against the stove without noticing that the fire was alight. He found a number of strangers in the room, horse dealers, cattle dealers, and 2 Englishmen. These 2 were so rich that their pockets were bursting with gold. And the way they bet, you just listen to this. Bzz, bzz. What was that they could hear beside the stove? The apples were beginning to roast. Whatever is this? They asked. Well, they very soon heard. They were giving the whole story of the horse, which was changed for the cow, and so on, right down to the rotten apples. Well, your missus will warm your ears from you when you get home, said the Englishman. There'll be a warm welcome. No, she won't. No, she won't. She will give me a kiss, said the farmer. Shall we have a bet? They asked. Golden sovereigns by the barrel. 100 pounds to the hundredweight. Make it a bushel. That'll be enough, said the farmer. Done, they answered. The innkeeper brought out his cart. The Englishman got in, the farmer got in, the rotten apples got in, and soon they all came to the farmer's house. Good evening, Mother. Well, we have done the deal. I exchanged the horse for a cow. What a lovely exchange. I swapped the cow again for a sheep. There, that's better still, she replied. You think of everything. But I swapped the sheep for a goose. My dear Papa, do you mean to say that we shall have Michaelmas goose this year? But I swapped the goose for a hen, said the husband. A hen! That was a good exchange, said the wife. Yes? No, but I swapped the hen for a bag of rotten apples. Why, now you must have a kiss, said the wife. And now I have got something for you to hear. While you were away, I thought of a really nice meal to cook you when you got back. Omelette flavored with onion. I had the eggs, but no onions. So I went across to the schoolmaster's. They grow chives there, you know. But his wife is so stingy, I asked her to lend me. Lend, she repeated. Nothing grows in your garden, not so much as a rotten apple. I couldn't even lend you that. Well, now I can lend her 10. In fact, a whole bag full. I do like that, cried the Englishmen together. And with that, they counted out 100 weight of gold coins to the farmer, who was not scolded, but kissed. Yes, it always pays for the wife to admit freely that Papa knows best, and that what he does is right. Well, what do you think of that for a story? I heard it as a child, and now you have heard it too, and realize, I hope, that Papa is always right.